Hello, everybody. Hi. I hi. Welcome to stream. Hi. Already, thank you for some people in chat who are tossing what's it called? Tossing well wishes into chat. Here, give me just a second. I'm adjusting a couple of things before we get too deep into it. Just moving that there, and then ideally, okay. There's chat box. Cool. Here I can turn off studio mode now that we're all hanging out together. Hi everybody. Hello. Yeah, nice to have all of you guys here. I Okay, so just off the bat, anyone who got here for the ping or anything, I just want to state that this is not the normal kind of content this channel does. This is not what you're going to see regularly. This is an incident that I was a part of that I feel is important for people to hear about. If at any point there's any audio issues or anything like that, please let me know. I'm relatively new to a lot of the technology I'm using today. But I just wanted to talk about kind of what happened yesterday. Um, I was arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department for peaceful protest. Let's talk about it. Basically, I guess I just kind of start at the beginning of the day, right? Yeah, I love you guys too. Thank you for putting stuff in the chat. But just to start off, obviously protests have been happening in LA for the last several days. Today's the sixth day of protest regarding immigration raids, ICE raids that have been happening, and people have been making some fantastic fucking content about it. There have been people who have been calling representatives, who have been recording raids, who have been protecting their loved ones, and it made me incredibly upset and angry to see a lot of those videos happening. It's one of those things where, you know, from a moral standpoint, it's really hard when you have the ability to go do something to not go do it. So I wanted to talk through my photography. I'm someone who does photography as a hobby. I'm not a professional photographer by any means, but I like doing it, and it's something that I enjoy doing. And I wanted to kind of show that by going and taking some photos of the previous day's leftover graffiti. That's something that I think sends a message, and even if it will be eventually covered up or changed, it's something that I like to capture. Sorry, I'm gonna be a little scatterbrained today. I'm very tired. I'll go through the whole day. Um, Basically, I got up pretty early in the morning, but I didn't end up leaving my house till like 10-ish, 11 almost. I made it to DTLA, downtown LA. You're gonna hear me say DTLA a lot today. Um, DTLA probably around like 11, 11:30, somewhere in there, and I ended up walking around and seeing a lot of graffiti. Actually, so I have a lot of photos and videos that I'm going to share today. It's not necessarily all going to be in order, but it's just to help you guys get sort of an idea of where I'm at. So here, I can click to this button. Um, these are some of the photos that I took while I was downtown, um, and I obviously there's a lot of graffiti going on because people are angry and they're in the streets and they're protesting and they're doing all these things. So I saw a lot of fuck ICE. That was the number one thing that was written on people's walls. I was walking around and the streets were pretty empty. Like some of the districts there was normal business, but it was pretty fucking empty when it came to walking around. There were shops covered in fuck ICE, fuck ICE, fuck LAPD, fuck ICE. You're seeing all of these phrases constantly used over and over again. There were already street cleaning crews that were out and covering a lot of the graffiti, so I'm glad that I got there to get a lot of photos as I could. Obviously, there will be more. It will continue to be put up. I don't condone people vandalizing other people's properties, but I understand the want to deface something, and I would rather graffiti happen than violence in the streets. So that's why it's something that I enjoy taking photos of, because it's people's emotions laid raw onto buildings, onto statues, onto things where it can't go unnoticed. Um, so this is one that really affected me, which was there were several calls for just keep my family, for people who were having loved ones deported. Um, it was something. It was a phrase that I saw several times as I was going throughout the day. This is the courthouse, LA courthouse, they they put fuck ice on it, and you're gonna see the phrase like de raza, vive la raza, all of these things. For anyone who's not familiar with Spanish, raza is race. It's a like Chicano Hispanic word, just meaning like race, but really what it means is like Hispanic culture. So like if somebody's like vive la raza, it's like they're living our lives, and we're not going to be erased, because there is no secret that the ICE raids are affecting the Hispanic population. My population more than pretty much else. And a little bit of backstory on me: I'm a third and fourth generation immigrant on my father's side. Both my great grandmother and my grandfather both came to this country from Mexico. I'm literally what people want to happen, where they immigrate and their grandkids get to live in the country. There was a lot of things that touched very close to my heart when I was walking around. You see fuck ICE, fuck the cops over and over again. So much graffiti, right? This was probably something that I think affected me the most, as a quote that I saw on the wall, which was, "When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty." And I was incredibly moved by this statement. This is one of several photos that I took of that specific statement. It was something that I think is necessary and at the heart of protest and at the heart of resistance. But remember, at this point, it's been like 30 minutes of me walking around, and there has been no real sign of people. Eventually, I managed to make my way to the front of the federal building in LA, where there is a small protest that has been gathered. I believe it was some kind of church group, from what I end up seeing later, that has gathered some other protesters, and they are outside of the federal building, where you can see some National Guard members are just guarding the entrance to the federal building. California National Guard, they're all there, and they're just sort of posing, right? They've got their shields, they've got their guns. They're more there as a deterrent than anything else. This side of the building, there were almost no issues with, because within about an hour of me getting here, pretty much all of the protesters moved from... Okay, actually, I have a map pulled up for this. Like, I can pull that up. This is the area of DTLA that we are focused on for yesterday's protest. I ended up walking down on... Here's First Street. So I came up on 2nd Street, and a lot of the graffiti that I took was over here, going down Los Angeles Street, up to the federal building. So that photo that I've just shared of the officers out in front of the federal building, that's right here. And basically there was a tiny protest here, but most people ended up walking around the corner to where the other federal building is, where this is where the detention center is, the federal detention center. And a couple of the photos that you're going to see, and I think I even have a little bit of video of this part of it. Yeah, I was walking around, and I was just taking video of like graffiti. This is the north side of the federal building. You can see right here the Royal Ball Center and federal building, just littered with graffiti of fuck ICE, fuck ICE. Oh, okay, here we go. So this little plaza right here, where you see the National Guard, this is where most people protested yesterday. This is the detention center. And if I go back to my map over here, that is this corner right here. So the line for the National Guard was set up here, and then just down this curb against the sidewalk. So there was still plenty of room on the sidewalk for people to go. And it was not a big protest till like 1 p.m. Like a lot of the videos that I get, like you're seeing me walk up, it's empty streets, right? So there's all these people that are there. Like you could see the tiny little group off the camera. I didn't get a ton of photos of the actual crowd just because I was more focused on, the National Guard and their sort of intimidating presence that was here. But yeah, this was for most of the day what the protest was some people playing music, some people standing with flags, making protests. They were very responsible. At one point, the police came through and asked us to move for like the street and stuff. People got onto the sidewalk. It was not super well organized because no major groups were out, but it was peaceful. And I think I may even have a couple more photos. Let's see here. So National Guard. Yeah. Oh, this was on the front of the federal building, and I thought that was pretty poignant. Here, I'll move my camera out of the way. Is just fuck ICE with the seal. I thought was like, I don't know, that spoke to me. And Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I ended up leaving for a little bit to do a walk around the block and came back, and I see this like democracy, sort of like, I don't know, flower circle, flower laurel, up within full sight of an FBI crime scene tape holding off the federal building and a protest in front of the National Guard. And I thought this might not be the best visual as a photo, but it's definitely a lot of what I felt yesterday. And this is after the protests had gotten a little bit bigger, after people started showing up. People were holding upside down flags because this is an inversion of, it was an inversion of America, what it's supposed to be. So yeah, it's just the single line, and then it's people here on the streets. You can hear the cops coming in every once in a while. This is the kind of protest it was. Here's a church group singing to the National Guard. Oh, fuck. Jesus. Well, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate the call out. I'll play that again. So let's see here. Thank you for the call out that you can't hear audio. There we go. Thank you. So here's the yeah. So it's just people singing, it's just people protesting, people with flags. It's all super above board. Um Yeah. So King Sealy, I 100% agree. People are making it incredibly dramatic, and there's really hard to get info. I will say this story is gonna get a lot more dramatic. But I'm trying to give as honest of a representation of what happened as I can. Um, and okay, I will actually get back to this video because this is important for later. I keep walking about FBI crime scene. This one was something that I feel very strongly about, this sign next to this particular guard. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things of there's a lot of very high tensions going on. So yeah, here's just, and again, look, there's a large portion of this morning where there was no one here to protest. Okay, I can close this one. Let me open up the other folder. There were people who showed up with signs, stop the repression, organize the community. And there were some fucking poignant signs out there today, or yesterday. The right way to go about this does not involve children in handcuffs. I feel like that shouldn't need to be stated, right? Worried about criminals being in this country, yet you voted for one to run it. It felt like we were crazy people, right? Thank you for the good wishes in the chat, but it is definitely one of those things of like, it was a very peaceful protest. Immigration is not a crime. Injustice is. This is a photo of just the National Guard looking so fucking bored. Like, they're just standing there for most of today. Until these moments happened. Okay, so going back to the map that I was showing you guys earlier. When it comes to, so we're on Alameda Street, is the street that everyone is protesting on. This is sort of the courtyard that the National Guard has. And they've set up a little perimeter here. And we're all protesting on the sidewalk and a little bit into the street right here. If you look, you'll notice that there are driveways to go into the detention center. Every once in a while, an armored vehicle would go through, and the National Guard would need to open up the crowd to let the vehicle through. Instead of communicating, instead of pulling out a bullhorn, telling people to move, there was at no point in the day did they ever ask a single person to move. No. Instead, what they did is they would rush en masse, and I think I've got some better photos of it in a second. Here we go. They would rush the streets, pushing out with their shields and force everyone back onto the street, carrying their quote-unquote less than lethal ammunition, which, by the way, less than lethal ammunition is exactly what the fuck it says it is. It is designed to be just below lethality. Spoiler alert, people are going to get shot with that later in this stream, and I would like to trigger warning for people when we get to those videos. They still leave lacerations, bruises, broken bones. It is not nice what they're pulling out. But every once in a while, they would come out en masse and let vehicles in, and like there's long vehicles of like vans of them pulling people into the detention center, of just like all of these cars that are being let through right now are heading into the detention center. Okay. Here is where shit starts to go really fucking wrong. This video I took on my phone. I don't think I got any great photos of what was going on. Here's just more people protesting. Let's see here. Yeah, so here we go. This is them just pushing out with their shields to let cars in and out of the building. Fuck, dude. The police and the California National Guard standing shoulder by shoulder is just... It tells you a lot about where our LAPD stands on a lot of this. But yeah, let's see. Here's more protest photos. Oh, fuck. They had a sniper. That was crazy to notice when they set that up. This is the building above the loading area, as you can see from the sign below. At like 1 or 2 p.m., I watched them set up scopes and snipers up in this area. Again, nothing had gone violent yet. There was no violence. There was no shooting. There was no anger. I mean, there was anger, but there was no like in the moment reactionary anger yet. But they set up a sniper's nest, which was, I think, maybe that's some sort of code. Maybe that's some sort of basic safety for them. What the fuck, America? To the point where you needed snipers to look down at a crowd. Okay. So, fuck. Okay. So I'll pause here on the photos because the videos are going to do something a bit more. And this is where triggering content is going to start. Remember when I just said that the National Guard would push us out of the way, right? And it seems like unnecessary escalation because it is, right? It is. There's no other way to put it. A lot of us believe that it was on purpose, that it was to what's the word? I'm looking for the word, but it was to make us angry, to incite us into violence, sort of thing. Around the 5th time that happened, of them pushing people out of the way to let a bus in, a man tripped. I watched it happen. He fell back on his ass and he tripped. Thank you. Okay, good to know. Thank you, Jotaro. And a man tripped as he was running back. And we were all pushing back, right? We were all running back. He tripped. And instead of letting him get up, instead of letting the people around him help him up, the National Guard surrounded that man and began to beat him with their riot shields and clubs. When about 2 people ran up, they had not yet intervened with the situation. They were just yelling at National Guard to let him go. National Guard turned and opened fire with pepper spray paintballs. Mistakenly, the words tear gas were used a lot. No actual tear gas, as far as I'm aware, was deployed today. You're going to hear me say tear gas a lot, and you're going to hear a lot of people say tear gas. It is pepper spray bombs. It is flashbangs. It is salt guns. Is what happened. So they started beating the shit out of him. This is a couple minutes after, once he got up and ran away, but they're still sort of hitting people with it.
They just fired tear gas into the crowd. They just started shooting at us. Thank you.
Oh, this is a guy handing me a mask because I didn't have a mask at the time because I brought a bandana, but I didn't have time to get it on my face.
Thank you. You doing work. Thank you. Thank you. They fired tear gas in the fucking crowd. We were not aggressing.
We weren't.
This is a peaceful protest.
I don't know if you can tell I was angry.
What the fuck are you doing?
And that's what they want, right? They want us angry. They want us full of rage, and they were inciting us because that first shots that were fired, again, we had done nothing wrong. A man had tripped and fallen. And it's rough. This is a video I posted to Instagram. This is maybe like a minute later.
There's flashbangs, there's tear gas.
So this smoke here is, again, we keep yelling tear gas. There's no tear gas. This smoke here is the remnants of a flashbang that just went off.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
We were peaceful.
Yeah. Somebody threw a water bottle, which they shouldn't be doing. We yell at those people later.
We were peaceful.
And they started opening fire again. My video cuts off there because I drop my phone and I run for cover. because they opened fire with pepper spray bullets again. And that was the first incident that happened. Now, you'll see the beginning of this video is a police line. I've got more photos of this from before it happens. Basically, LAPD is finally on the scene, and what they decide to do is they set up shop on the north side of the street. So remember when I talked about this is where the National Guard was, and we were protesting here. The National Guard line is here. The police set up on this intersection up here. There's about anywhere between 20 to 60 of them at any given time. They shift a lot. They move. Early on, it was only a couple dozen, but then it gets a lot bigger. And they set up a line at the top. And my first thought is, okay, they're setting up a line. They don't want the protest spreading out that direction. Maybe they're helping to figure out traffic. It was a lot more insidious than that, and you'll see that as we continue to go on. But basically, I took some photos of the police line. Here they all are posing with their batons. And I think this photo and their stances, looking again at protesters who have not fired a weapon. The worst was that one guy threw a water bottle that did not hit anyone, and we yelled at him after. This is the stance they take to look at us. This is what they choose to do. And they start lining up, right? And you'll notice LAPD is a little bit closer here than they were a second ago. That's because for about 40 minutes, every 10 to 15 minutes, they'd reclaim 30 feet of space on the street. And they would start to push their way downward just a little bit. So they'd move a little and stop. Move a little and stop. And it's very clear they're trying to push us down the street. Here's a video I took. So this is them having gone all the way up from here to this part of Alameda Street. They've gone like a quarter of a block at this point. Let's see here.
They're slowly moving down the street. They're trying to push us down the street. We have done nothing wrong. We have only used our right to protest. Nothing has come out with those police officers thus far. It has only been the police officers on this side and the National Guard that have opened fire with pepper spray, paintballs, salt guns, and tear gas. National Guard is just taken back.
Okay, so this is when shit starts to get really scary. Yes, it was scary before. This is when it becomes sort of a coordinated effort to get us the fuck out of there. Let's see. So the police have moved up. Okay. This is where shit gets scary. This photo will be here in a second. This is my buddy Dylan. I made friends with Dylan. He's an aerospace engineer. I made friends with him at the protest. He's cool. We were in jail together, as you'll see in a little bit. I think the video is the next point. So basically, for the first time in the day, the National Guard has left where they originally set up. Where they had initially set up was, again, across here and down here. It was maybe, 50 feet of people. That's longer. Maybe 100 feet of people. They push out and take back this entire plaza and create a line all the way across the sidewalk from the federal building. They move all of the protesters out of the plaza where they had been gathering, right? So they move us onto the sidewalk. Oh, another thing to clarify is that the police officers that are on the street have been yelling at us to get off the street. So we're trying to stay on the sidewalk as much as possible, and I think I mentioned that in this upcoming video.
This entire plaza over here, pushing us onto the sidewalk, whereas these police officers are telling us off of the streets. So we are now getting this about 6 to 8 foot strip. Oh, they're pushing us back more. They're pushing us back off the public sidewalk. They're pushing us into the streets. What are you doing? And they've done it all the way down.
They did it all the way the fuck down.
People in the streets because they've been pushed off of the sidewalk. They have taken it to the curb. They have taken public sidewalks from us where we have a right to protest.
Yeah, at this point, this is when they begin to infringe on our rights. At this point, they take away the public area. They have not asked us to disperse at this point in time. They've told us to get off the streets. They've told us to get off the sidewalks, but they have not told us to disperse yet. And it's really fucking scary because you're getting pushed on two sides by two different armed forces.
Say that again.
They're moving in.
So this is important. Pay attention to what Dylan says.
They've cordoned off all this area, pushing us in. They're pushing us in from that side. They're trying to incite us to riot. We are not rioting.
We are peaceful protesters who have only been fired on at this point. No one has attacked a National Guardsman or a police officer. We have only been fired upon when we would not move.
Completely unprovoked.
We are now surrounded on 3 sides with a 20-foot wall to our backs.
They've completely locked us in.
We
So-
cannot leave this area now.
So the thing that I've just said, and I think the really important thing to get, is I've been talking about this entire time. Armed forces on this side and armed forces on this side. While it might look like this area of Alameda Street is an open area, if I go into Street View right here, you'll be able to see that there is a wall here. This wall is between 10 and 15 feet tall at any given point on the wall. It is not climbable by your average person, which means that we are now surrounded on 3 sides, one by a wall, with forces here and forces here. What we did not realize until the end of that video is the police has set up another line that is pushing forward from the south side. At this point, we are surrounded on all 4 sides. We cannot leave. Even when they give a dispersal order, which they do in just a little bit, we are trapped. They will not let us leave either direction. I will not show this entire bit because it has some personal information on it. Later on, I'll talk to you about me getting cited for basically, I was hit with 409 PC failure to disperse. Failure to disperse from a place that they locked us into and did not let us leave. And it gets a lot more claustrophobic. So again, I would like to give a trigger warning. Thank Kate in the chat of where did they expect us to disperse to? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Yeah, they didn't want us to disperse. So at this point, you're going to see a lot of clips that are very chaotic. I'm turning my recording on and off just as I'm running around. I'm just sort of going to watch a lot. Oh, actually, let me check photos real quick. So this is right after they started pushing us in. They pushed us onto the street. Oh, here we go. So Dylan ended up picking up, this is a piece to a salt grenade. This is basically what it does is like foam and salt. They shoot it at you and it fucking prickles your whole skin and bruises the shit out of you. This is what they were firing at us. Oh my fucking God, this lady. Okay. I don't remember her name. She was in lockup with me. Shout out to her. She was so passionate and so strong-worded, but she also was never violent. She was angry, justifiably so, but she was never violent. Actually, I'm going to talk about her a little bit when we get to lockup. But if you look closely at her sign is fucking punctured with, what is that, like 8 different shots where they aimed specifically at her cover to shoot her. She mentioned later, a little bit crass, that she got shot in the boob 4 times. This is not people shooting deterrents at the ground. This is them firing at protesters. Like, again, she was using her sign for cover, and that's why it's full of holes. Yeah. Okay, here's the police line as they're moving in on us. Okay, this is when they start firing on us. Yeah, okay, I'll get to this in a second. Basically,
They pushed us forward. They suddenly surged forward. I don't know what the fuck happened.
Nobody did anything, you fucking cowards.
What the fuck was that? Who are they arresting?
Real big, huh? Real big.
Oh, God.
Little man needs to think he's big. How are all of you 4'2"?
so there's kind of some insults happening. Dylan's being very aggressive towards the cops, which understandable at this point. This guy who's on the curb, I didn't get his story till much later in the day. Essentially, he was just one of the guys who yelled "fuck you" at the cops. All of us were doing it. He was just one of the guys who yelled "fuck you." They just tackled him to the curb. They grab him. And instead of putting him in the police vans, instead of taking him to a proper lockup, they take him to the federal fucking detention center right there.
Why is he being detained?
He was never read his rights. He was never told why he was being arrested.
Why is he being detained? Why are you being detained? Why is he being detained?
I don't think so. They took him.
That is our fucking right to know. Why is he being detained? Hey, they're boxing us in. They're moving in. They're moving in. They're moving in.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
They're moving in. Hey, hey.
This is all because of one man.
What the fuck is that? Oh shit! They're gonna open fire! They're opening fire!
They have all raised their guns at this point.
Hey, what the fuck? Hey, 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 hey! What the fuck? Our police officers are pushing us off the street. What is going on? Don't throw shit! Don't throw shit!
So what you hear us right now is one guy threw another bottle of water. Just for total count, that is 2 bottles of water thrown at the National Guard and police. And that is uncountable pepper spray, paintball, bolts, assault rifle use. Like, it is not a proportional level of force at all.
Don't throw shit!
And we are policing ourselves, by the way. The moment that guy did it, like 4 people went, grabbed him, and stopped him.
Don't throw shit!
Okay. So yeah, they're yelling at us. They're shooting at us. They're pushing us down the street. And you can see they fucking push us down the street. Where this line is now, where the police line is, remember, the police line started up here at this fucking intersection. They have brought us all the way down to just at this corner of the building right here at Alameda Street. And the other line has come up to this part of the building here. So we're left with like maybe a 1/10 of a block. Here we go. So they're letting media out now at this point. They've already shot at the media multiple times, but now they're letting people with press passes out of that side.
They are pushing us out. We have done nothing. Hey! What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Hey! 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 What the fuck?
And then they just choose this guy at random and fucking grab him and start beating the shit out of him and firing at the floor around him so nobody can stop them. And they just take him. He did nothing fucking wrong outside of what anyone else did.
Why the fuck are you doing this? Under what law? You guys have weapons. We didn't do a fucking thing.
So that guy just got taken. And he didn't go to the same detainment place the rest of us went. They just took him. I don't know where he went. I don't know his name. I hope I find out one day. I'm sorry if I'm getting a little emotional right now. It's definitely, that was yesterday, and it's still pretty fucking raw. And it was fucking scary, and that shit sucked, right? And we don't have a ton of videos and photos left because I'm gonna be arrested relatively soon. But at this point, they have surrounded us pretty much on both sides.
Don't throw shit.
And
Don't let them stir you to violence. Question why they're here. Do not attack them. Don't let them incite you. They are going against our constitutional rights. You okay? Okay, you're good? Okay.
The girl I was just checking in on, yeah, she got shot in the face with a pepper spray bullet.
Okay. Absolutely.
Tough guys.
Bannerman, not the time, but yes.
You
Absolutely,
all grew
yes.
up here. You used to be on this side of the fucking line. What happened? Why are we worth less than you? What happened? Now we're
Now, so at this point, the line that had set up the police line, that had set up on the other side is really pushing in.
And pushed on both sides. What the fuck? Hey! Hey! Where are we supposed to go? Huh? Where are we supposed to go?
My voice is cracking because I just have no
You
voice
got us
left at this
boxed
point.
in! Walls on both fucking sides! Where do you want us to go? What the fuck is this? Let them leave?
So this car had just had the misfortune of going down this street when the police barricades went up. This woman that they're pulling out of her car was not part of the protests, and she was arrested with the rest of us.
Let them through! Let them leave!
She was pulled out of her car.
Let her go!
Her car was taken and impounded.
Let her go!
Her and her passenger were then rounded up with the rest of us.
They fucking boxed us in. Walls on both sides. Where the fuck are we supposed to go? It kicked.
So real quick, I got a couple of photos that'll give you more of an idea of what was going on. The police, this is the north side of Alameda Street, right? This is the north side. And then this is the south side. We are boxed in on both directions. We have not been allowed to leave. They will not let us disperse. And yeah, that's the last photo I have, because at this point I turn off my camera and I hide my SD card in my in my bag. I hide it at the bottom of my bag because I don't know, you know, the police, they did arrest bystanders. I never know what's going to happen with evidence. So I did the thing of I hid my SD cards. I made sure to triple lock my phone. I made the fucking rookie mistake of having my ID on me when we got arrested. So unfortunately I was not able to deny them my name. But on the upside, that means I got out yesterday as opposed to tomorrow, because they can hold you for up to 48 hours if they don't have your information.
Random fucking people out of the crowd to arrest. Hey! Hey! Where the fuck are you going? What is this? Yes. Yeah, of course. Good to see you.
So at this point, one of the things, and actually there's I'll get to that in a second. One of the things that's kind of important happening in the background here is, and it doesn't show up well on my phone, but I've got some other angles, where on the other side of the street, on the curb, because again, we've tried to collect on the curbs as much as we can to be out of the streets. There is a mass of people, probably 40 to 80 people on the other side of the street. And then behind me, there's another 40 to 80 people. Let's see here. So there is some video here. Actually, hear me. Okay, so this is me. There I am, right there. Look at. Hi, Mom. I'm on camera. This is them pushing us down the street from the ABC newscopter. And you can see them just walking up the street, pushing us. There's me with my phone. And they're just corralling us into one specific location. And as the camera sort of like zooms out, you can see that like there's maybe 100 of us total across both groups. And like we don't know where to go. The reason we're lined up like this is because there's a police wall on both sides of us. And they here, I'm gonna mute this real quick because the noise is a little annoying to me. But yeah, so okay, here's the mass of people on the other side. Most of this is press, but about half of it is just other protesters. And we're both just kind of stuck there. We all start calling people.
Do not be drawn into their aggression. Do not be violent. Do not attack them. Do not throw things. They will open fire on us. Be calm. Be safe. We can question them, but we cannot attack them. Fuck.
So, yeah, basically we had to tell everyone, hey, if you fucking aggress them right now, they will open fire on us and we have nowhere to run. Yeah, that's fine, Falcon. You can swear. Swearing should be fine. We start chanting a couple different things just because there's nothing else we can do.
United will never be divided. The people united will never be divided. The people
And at this point, I believe it was, let me go back to this tab. It was this news, I think, that had...
Put him in handcuffs and took him to the...
let's see here. That's the guy earlier that they just grabbed out of our group. Yeah, so here's them pushing us back on the street. What's it called, from KTLA?
When they marched him down the street here, another mobile field force came from the south and trapped about 100 to 100.
Yeah, here we go. Here's the angle. So this is what they've done to us at this point. They have backed us into a U-shaped corner with a building wall to our back. We cannot go anywhere. The order to disperse was given probably 15 minutes before this photo was taken.
Here, and now they're going to do a mass arrest of these people.
And they mass arrested us.
They gave an order of dispersal, and then they said they called it an unlawful assembly. They did not leave. They were being moved slowly down towards Temple, and that's when the other side came up from the south and cornered them here against the building. And now they brought in some arrest vans, the buses here, I should say, where they're going to process each person and put them on the bus and take them to the jail. So there's a couple of buses here. I can tell you that further south, there's another group here.
So this is the setup now, is we have backs against the walls. And at this point, I realize, and a couple other people realize, fuck, we are going to be arrested. There is no getting out of this. I have... my father and my stepmother have always been very supportive of us going to protests. And I have a lot of experience, not with getting arrested during protests, but with what you should be doing. So I turn around to people. I ask people for markers, for pens. I start collecting them from people. Other people start handing out pens. And we're getting people to write the jail support number on their arms. Basically, if you were ever arrested at a protest, please call jail support. There's a phone number that you can find online. They will give you the best legal advice that you can get when navigating the system. And I'm making sure people are writing it on their arms because they're about to take away all our shit. We're not going to have access to our phones. We're not going to have access to the internet. Any numbers that you're going to want to call in jail, you're going to have memorized. And I text my father, and I'm going to be real. My family didn't know I was at the protests because I went on a whim and I didn't think to tell them. So I call my dad and I go, hey, Dad, I'm about to be arrested. And he goes, okay, are you sitting down? And I go, no. And I look around and there's like 3 or 4 other people that are sitting down. But of the like 100 of us that were there, most of us were standing. So I turned and I went, everybody, we need to sit the fuck down. We cannot give them a reason. And I just start like what you've heard a lot of things. 100 people, sit. That was a mistake. Not to get them to sit, that was correct. And I don't regret doing that. But one of the things that you may notice if you see me in the footage, which if you look at this footage, you'll find me multiple times. I've already pointed myself out a couple times. You're going to notice that I was in the very middle of the group. I was in a place where I could talk to people, where I could figure out where they were at, where I could help people. Because luckily I'm tall and I'm loud, and that means it's really easy to get people to do things that I think they should be doing. The problem with that was when they lined us all up here against the wall. Here, I'm actually going to back it up a couple seconds because I want a better shot of this. So when they backed us up here against the wall, they started pulling people from this corner right here and then just lining them up with their heads against the wall, backs to the street, frisking them, and then processing them to get on the buses. I was right here in the middle of the group. I should have been on the second or third bus. After they pulled 4 people, one of the police officers who's in charge looked, pointed at me, said, "You in the glasses, now!" And she pulled me aside, and I was probably the 8th person who was finished getting processed. I was on the first bus. This bus right here, closest to the group, that was my bus. Just to clarify, like, I got there at like 11. We got encircled at like 2:45. I was on the bus by 3:10. We did not arrive where we were going until almost 4:30. Basically, what happened is I I got over there. I did not give them my name, but unfortunately I had my ID on me, and it was not in a hidden location so they could observe that information. They wrote down my information, and they processed me. And this is where we're going to get to the part where I think I'm some of the most angry about. Because am I angry about the shooting at the crowds, the injuring? I want to clarify, some of my videos showed children at this protest. I'm angry about all that. But I think one of the things I'm even fucking angrier about is the amount of police incompetence I witnessed after they started processing us. None of the police were on the same page as to what was supposed to happen to us. The code for that they were arresting us for was 409C, was failure to disperse. The amount of police officers that didn't know what that code was, where they'd be people next to me getting their tickets written, and I'd hear a police officer go, "Oh, was it like 490? No, 409. Oh, it's 409? I got to rewrite this." 5 or 6 times in the 10 minutes I was against the wall, I heard that happen. Every single police officer was rude, was demeaning, was condescending, but the biggest part was they didn't know their own system. People were separated from their belongings accidentally when the system was supposed to put them together. They were not given the proper paperwork when they were supposed to. A friend that I ended up making once we got to our actual holding center where they had us, he wasn't actually given the paperwork when he was put on the bus. His brother was. He and his brother were arrested at the same time. And his brother was processed properly, and he was never given the slip, the piece of paper that writes down, hey, this is your name, your ethnicity, where you live, all that information they need to process you. He was never given it. And it's absurd. But basically, this is important to the end of this, to not even to the end, because we're not at the end yet. I'll spoiler you guys right now. It's 3 o'clock. Look, you can see it right there. I actually got arrested earlier than I thought. It's 3 o'clock. In the corner when we're getting arrested, I don't get released until midnight that night. So I am in police custody for, 9 minus 3. Or sorry, 12 minus 3 is 9. I can't math. There we go. I'm going to take that from the top. 12 minus 3, 9 hours I was in police custody. For what I will remind you is a citation. This is the equivalent to a ticket. This is just as bad as if you speed. That is the level of paperwork that they gave to us. There were no misdemeanors filed. Like, that's it. That's all it was. So part of this process that is important, that it does need to be stated for later, is they would take us against the wall. They would handcuff us with our hands behind our backs using zip ties, the really thick, sharp, heavy ones. We'd have our stuff behind our back. They would pat search us, put all of our shit into a little plastic bag where they would then take the slip of paper that they wrote our information on and put it in that plastic bag. They would then put us on a bus with no air conditioning where I sat, which, by the way, most of the people on my bus were men over the age of 30, and they were smaller than school bus seats. And we were on that bus for over an hour and a half. We were shoulder to shoulder, knees interlocked with one another. Our hands were still behind our backs while we were in our seats, so we were fucking dying from our wrists losing circulation and our shoulders being pushed back. All of our stuff was thrown into a pile in the front of the bus. They had the women separated out into a couple areas, which honestly, I understand why that policy is there. They eventually got us. I would like to clarify once again. We are in, at this point, downtown LA. This is central Los Angeles right here, is where we are at. There are police precincts all over this area. Instead of taking us to the nearest police precinct, instead of processing us at the detainment center that we were in front of, they took us to South Central Los Angeles, to the 77th precinct. That is a 15 to 20 minute drive. They took us across town to take us to this precinct. They did not process us near where we were. They made it as difficult for people as possible to get back to their vehicles, to get back to their home, to get back to transportation. This is going to be important later. So we get on the whole bus. We get pulled around, and they bring us into this little area here where the 2 buses sit for about 20 minutes. Eventually, they start unloading us. They give us a much more in-depth pat search. And then instead of taking us into what we were promised would be like the cell holding area, they cleared out this car garage here with these 20-foot high cement walls. this car garage, they cleared it out to use it as a holding area where they put about 50 to 100 people at a time for processing. They put us on metal chairs with our hands behind our backs facing a wall. I think I got to use the bathroom twice in the, let's see, I got here around 4:30. I didn't leave till midnight. So in the 8 hours I was there, I got to use the bathroom twice. I got 1 drink of water. One of the things that happened, though, is that in this holding area, they had set up like 2 squares of chairs. So we'll call them section 1 is closest to the door and section 2 is farthest from the door, right? Like at the back of this van area. The first bus, so, okay, there were 2 buses. I'm going to take a drink of water. I'll be right back. So, what happened is there were 2 buses that left. My bus is technically bus number 2 because it arrived second, but we were first loaded onto the bus. Bus number 1, the second bus of people loaded, I know it's confusing, were loaded into section 1, but there was still some leftover room. So they put about half my bus in the second half of section 1, and then the rest of my bus into section 2. At that point, the detective in charge, I forget his name. It started with a V. I'm looking up his badge number, and there's a couple other people I'm in contact with that I made. I got their contact information while we were in jail. We are working to find his badge number because we have complaints that we would like processed. Because he made it very clear that we were his responsibility, and he was in charge, and he was incredibly demeaning, and he was incredibly disrespectful, and he came in and treated us like we were less than children. His first words were, "I'm going to treat you with dignity and respect, but this isn't Disneyland. We'll get to you when we get to you, and I'm going to give you 2 choices. You can either give us your information now and be cited, or you get to spend 2 days in my jail, and I'll give you all the breakfast burritos and solitary confinement that you can have." And it was so fucking infuriating to be there and for him to talk to us like that. And at one point, about an hour and a half in, they finally started actually processing people. And as they started processing people, I noticed, and a couple other people in my group in section 2 noticed, they were only pulling people from section 1. Like, they were supposed to be going 5 at a time, which, by the way, they told us they would be processing us 5 at a time. That's not what that meant. They would process each individual person 1 at a time. There was a row of about 15 police officers who were taking down all of our information using a paper and pencil. There were no computers involved with any of our bookings because apparently they had run out of computers, according to one of the detectives I spoke to later. They were processing us 1 at a time. And then once you were processed, once your legal requirements had been fulfilled, they did not release you until 4 other people had also been processed. And then they released 5 at a time. But we noticed they're only pulling from section 1. And we brought that up. We said, officer, what is the processing system? Why are we not getting called? We came in before those people. We were loaded before those people. And once again, we were told, this is not Disneyland. We will get to you when we get to you. After 4 fucking hours, it was getting to sundown at this point. It was like 8:30. I look over and I realize something about section 1, and I start putting it together. And I lean over to someone who's in section 1, and I kind of yell across the way, "Hey, where'd your papers go?" Remember, they handed us strips of papers that they put into our plastic belonging bags when we got loaded. The guy looks at me and goes, "Oh, they haven't taken your papers yet? You're cooked." And I went, "What?" "Yeah, they took our papers when we got here. That's what they used to call you and process you." And that is the moment when every person in section 2 realized they had not begun processing us yet. Because the reason we noticed is people who had arrived after us were being loaded into section 1 and then getting cleared. People were getting just let out from section 1, and more people would be brought in. They brought in, we counted 5.5 buses, 2 vans, and 4 squad cars full of people. I was on the first bus, and over 100 people were processed before me. We sat there, and I called the officer, and that woman that I mentioned earlier, I'll pull back up the photo of her because I need to find her name because she's inspiring as all fucking hell. Let me see if I can find her. This woman, the one who'd been shot at multiple times. By the way, come to find out, that man that they took in the detention center is her boyfriend. She was separated from her boyfriend and brought here, and she was the most outspoken, verbose, admirable fucking person in our group. And she argued for us. And she said, hey, something's wrong. You haven't taken our papers. And that detective came back and he said, we're going to put this one in solitary, and started threatening her with solitary, telling her she was going to spend 2 days in lockup. And she went, fuck it. I don't care. Absolutely. Just take our goddamn papers. And he didn't. And he walked away. And lo and behold, she wasn't taken to solitary. It's 20 minutes after that DTLA, downtown Los Angeles, police officers begin to arrive. They are not from the 77th precinct. They are from precincts that are closer to the city center. They're the ones that did a lot of the arresting. I'm going to give a shout out here, and I know this is weird because ACAB, fuck cops, I hate them all. I don't think there's such thing as a good cop. I don't think that means that there are not good people among the cops. There's a difference between the institution and profession and the individual ability of the person. There is a detective who showed up who fulfilled the bare minimum requirements. Her name was Detective Gomez. I have her badge number. She is the only person that treated us like people, and she did not show up until almost 5 hours after we had arrived. Detective Gomez appears, and she walks in, and she's like, okay, I'm in charge of processing you all. You guys have been here for a while? And I go, yes. And I tell her exactly what's happened. We were on the first bus. Half of our bus that showed up at the same time of us has been gone for 4 hours at this point. Dylan, thank God, Dylan got out fucking early. Dylan got out after like 2 hours of detainment. She looks at us and goes, what? And I go, yes, we have. And as me, at this point, I'm the one primarily talking to Detective Gomez because at this point, the woman who was speaking up for us at this point has mostly resigned to being our bad cop, our fighting people, while I am the person speaking to them and being the diplomatic one. And we've done that together, and we figured that out while we were talking. And I talked to Gomez, and I go, we have not been processed. They have not taken our papers. And she stops, and I see her walk over to the fucking detective who was in charge of processing us. And she rips into his ass because he was supposed to process us hours ago. Because there are still buses of people waiting to be processed. And she comes back and she goes, okay, I'm going to have my people collect your cards. And she sends 2 of her rookie police officers to grab all of our cards, which you'd think would be the beginning of the end. It was not. Because what happens is I watch Detective Gomez take the stack, hand it to a processing police officer. Another hour passes and not a single one of us is processed. We are 6 hours in at this point. And I see Detective Gomez walk back in, and she goes, why are you all still here? They never called us. They still haven't processed us. And she goes, what? And she walks over and she goes, where's the cards for these people? They lost our cards within 10 minutes of receiving them. Detective Gomez then personally gathers every single information card of the people currently in the lot, and she begins to call out to people, whether they're in Section 1 or Section 2, trying to find our cards. Over half of our cards were permanently lost. She ended up tracking down about half of them, but they had to refill out our paperwork from scratch because they permanently lost our paperwork. It is one of the most incompetent things I have ever fucking seen happen. Finally, Detective Gomez starts clearing us. That woman who was threatened with solitary, thank God she was the first one cleared out of our section. She got to go home first, and I'm so happy for her, and I hope that she is reunited with her boyfriend. I don't know what's happened to her. I don't know her name. I just wish her the best of luck. It is then another 3 hours of processing. I am the second to last person from bus 1 to be released. I watched every other person on the bus go. The only person who was later than me was the person that I mentioned whose paperwork was never written down in the first place. And I had to go out and tell his brother, hey, he still hasn't been processed. And his brother had to wait there for him for another 30 minutes after I got processed. But eventually I got processed. A couple of things just to mention while we were in the 100%. A couple of things to mention just about the experience that we had while we were in there. When they brought us into that lot, none of us were a clear and present danger. But because we weren't in a holding cell, they never uncuffed us. Those 9 hours I spent in police, in detainment, I was handcuffed that entire time with my arms behind my back. There were people crying from the pain. A woman's hands went purple from her loss of circulation. It's been a day, and I still have red fucking lines and swelling across my wrist. My shoulders still fucking hurt because they never uncuffed us. Because they didn't want to treat us like people. The only time we ever got cuffed was when we were allowed to use the restroom, which I'll remind you, most people only got one bathroom break, and it was not organized. I got 2 because I'd been there the longest. But that was about 30 seconds of getting our arms free. During the point in time that we were there, the police officers did not do a good job of watching us. Some of us managed to smuggle our phones out of our evidence bags into our pockets. I used that to connect with my family and tell them I was safe. And it was just so fucking infuriating. And another level of police incompetence that happened is after I was released, it was after midnight. I walked out and there was still a small protest going on, mostly made up of people who'd already been incarcerated there. And I asked them, I was like, hey, what's your guys' court date? Because they set court dates for us to appear to do our ticket. I apologize, I'm hiccuping. They set court dates for us. Every single one of us that was processed that day, I won't go into the date or time because that's personal information for people. Every single one of us that was processed has the exact same court appearance date. They are creating another fucking shit show by having this entire protest show up on the same day at the same time to the courthouse. And I'm going to move to Soul Cam because we don't need to have that up in the background. It was one of the most dehumanizing, awful experiences I've had in my life. And I'm planning on protesting again this week. I'm going to be back out there. I hope anyone who's in the LA area, if you have the ability, energy, time to do so, I hope you do so. I know there's a lot of people outside of Los Angeles who can't. I know there's a lot of people who can't leave their jobs. I know there's a lot of people who don't have the ability to protest. But I hope that people will be out there, because one of the things that stuck with me about today is the entire reason we were there, which there are a lot of things to protest right now. I believe in a free Palestine. I believe in the defunding of the police. Those are 2 major things, but that is not the reason we were there today. Today, we were there to protest for Los Angeles, to protest for illegal ICE raids, to protest for immigration of people not being treated like people. We were peaceful, and then we weren't treated like people. And a haunting fucking thing that has stuck with me since last night, they treated us like this when they knew we were peaceful protesters. What the fuck are they treating the people who they really are holding in disregard like? And that sits with me, right? And it's one of those things where if this is the treatment we got, because there were infirmed, there were children, there were old people, there were pregnant women on my crowd that they shot at. The people who they are mislabeling as gang members and sending to El Salvadorian prisons, I can't fucking imagine how they're being treated. And I don't know what else to say other than we have to keep going, and we cannot attack the police, and we have to use our voices and not our hands. But I really just wanted to get a history of events that was recent, that was up to date. I'm actually going to look for my notepad real quick just to double check. I wrote down a history of of things that happened yesterday so that I wouldn't forget it. Escalation. I don't think there's anything that I forgot to go over today. Just as a quick breakdown, we were encircled at 2:30, arrested at 3 o'clock, arrived at the 77th precinct at 4:30 p.m., and I was released at 11:40 p.m. Be safe, people. Do the best that you can. I hope that I'm very grateful there was no loss of life yesterday for our raids and for our protests. I'm grateful that we were just arrested. I'm grateful that I get out of it with a citation. I have a squeaky clean record. I've never been arrested before. I've never had a proper ticket before. But I'm also fucking furious. And I hope that you're furious. And I hope that you're angry. And I hope that you know what's happened. For those of you standing with us, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and be done streaming for the day. I've got some other things happening today. I have a celebration to attend today. A member of my family is graduating high school. So that's going to be the rest of my day. And tomorrow is when I'm going to absorb all this and deal with this. Thank you guys so much for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope that this was enlightening for those of you who don't actually know what was going on here in Los Angeles. Yeah, I think that's all that I can say. So thank you so much. I will see you guys another time.